Hey team, I hope you're doing awesome. I'm heading to the airport right now, flying out to meet with a new partner, learning more about what they do, explaining more what we do, and seeing what some of their other partners do. I have a presentation and a slide deck. Don't know the logistics or the agenda too much. Hasn't been given to me yet, but I know where I'm supposed to show up. So, interestingly, when I return, I'm going to be landing at about midnight, driving the 2 hours back home from the airport, which will put me home at about 2 a.m. And then, or probably 2:30 by the time I pick up my baggage and get back out to the car and everything. And then I have to get up at the crack of dawn in order to drive to New York City the following day to meet with a client. So, which is a 3-hour drive plus 3.5 hour. That's why I'm constantly yawning and exhausted because of stuff like this. Anyway, I love the travel. I honestly do. I just wish that, one, there was budget for it, and two, budget for an extra day so that I could, relax instead of just hustling from airport to meeting to airport, to car to drive. Like, I would love to be able to actually rest at some point during these travels, but I know that's not reality. It's work. Got to do what I got to do, but yep, this is travel life of a CISO. Different companies are different, so some CISOs may never leave the office. I love going to conferences because I feel like that's where I learn. That's where I learn about how other businesses are doing it better. That's how I learn about new technologies. That's how I make alliances and partnerships, and meet peers that'll help me later in life and help our company recover from a problem later in life. If I stayed in a closet, that growth wouldn't be happening. It's also, for our company, a little bit of business development, because I'm meeting vendors and partners that will then refer other work to us. And although I'm not technically in business development, a lot of what I do is business development. I'm doing speaking in a webinar, or writing a blog post, or, speaking in front of these people, or going to meet with this vendor or customer. It's because I'm building a relationship, which is business development. So it may not be directly sales, it's developing that relationship for later, but that's how it works. Same thing with Net Diligence, I'm going to in a couple weeks. Net Diligence is, again, a conference about building relationships and business development. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, that, traveling's a thing. Now, to the meat of it, I really wanted to talk about building trust in your teams. So, there are a lot of trust-building exercises, and I don't fault any of them, because they all tend to work, whether it's physical activities, obstacle courses, things like trust falls, things like that. I've never been engaged in any leadership retreats or anything, or team-building retreats where they've had those kind of things. But the common one is sharing about your background and, following a prompt and basically sharing something personal and getting close to your team. And that does work. That does build trust in your team, between teammates, because you're understanding who they are as people and building empathy for each other, which is a start for trust. That being said, it's easy to screw that up. How can you screw that up? I've built those bridges of trust between people and in those leadership meetings, and then had them, completely shit all over you after that. And so it's not like it's a long-lasting thing. If you're a toxic individual, then no amount of magic dust is going to make me trust you. And one thing is I'm highly perceptive also. I have a really high level of perception. And what's funny is I'll understand that someone is manipulating or playing games and go with it, for the exercise. Because I know that I'm going into it with good faith. It's their fault if they're the ones screwing up this relationship. So, but a lot of times I know what's going on, and it makes me highly suspicious. It makes it harder to trust people. But I give them that kind of benefit of the doubt where I'm not really trusting them, but I'm like, really going with it and committing to it and committing to working with the person until they really prove it. But I usually am the kind of person that makes a quick call on somebody where I can kind of understand what their personality is. I'm not perfect. I've hired people based on those calls and they haven't worked out. People change also. They burn out. They get different offers. They don't fit in well with the culture of the team. So other things impact things. So to build trust, I encourage you to get to know the people. And I am bad at being the guy who's taking his team out for beers or somebody else out for beers and, doing that kind of thing. I've been told by leaders before in companies I've worked for, why don't you take so-and-so out for a beer? Like, that'll make a big difference for him, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not, I can force myself, but that's natively, unless I'm being forced to by somebody, I will never do that. Like, I don't step foot in a bar except like when I'm forced to for a work event. I haven't gone to a bar for fun since I was probably 21 or 22. There's not a whole lot of fun except just wasting money for me that is at a bar. But a lot of people, I understand, go to the bar just recreational, a lot. And, that's just not me. So when I'm taking someone to the bar, I feel like, number one, I'm wasting money. Number two, I feel like I'm being irresponsible. I feel like I'm not, and I feel uncomfortable because it's not my scene. And I'm doing this really as team building for somebody. So, now I'm in an environment where I feel like I have to be careful. So that is my own personal outlook on it. But doing things where you're having an opportunity to get to know your team. For me, it's really important to have kind of those rubber ducky calls, where that's what we called it with the DevOps team, where you're on a call once a week for like 2 hours and you're just sharing projects you're working on, sharing code, talking about stuff, and there's no firm agenda. You're not like, oh, look at XYZ's code and then analyze this. No, you're like, oh, did you catch the game last night? Have you checked out Game of Thrones or this, whatever. You're talking about stuff and you're talking about experiences and farming and gardening and whatever while you're doing this meeting. So it's like everybody's getting to know each other and it builds a team. But that's important. I know it's not in the budget a lot of times to do those offsites, but those are great. When you can get away together and unplug together, whether you're able to go on a hike as a team, whether you're able to go and do other things in just someplace where you're not staring at a cell phone as a team. But one of the things that really will build trust is not only making yourself vulnerable, and part of that is by giving them information about you, letting them know about you, and that's through just getting to know each other.
Turn left onto King Street.
That's part of it, but part of it is being vulnerable in a way that you're taking risks with them. You're letting them make decisions, and you're when you are and you're giving them the benefit of the doubt, and you're giving them the reins and stuff like that, and part of it is letting them know that, hey, I have a lot riding on this, but I know that you're the one on the team who can do this. Is this something that we can work together on? Is it something you'd like to lead? Give an opportunity to lead and shine and things like that. Helping them and getting in there with them when they're struggling on a weekend project or something, especially when it's cutting into that personal time. They're sacrificing so much blood, sweat, and tears that if you don't also, it's hard for them to trust you. Building that trust is based off of, mutual sacrifice in a lot of ways. One reason people on like an IR team that work together, after a long time, they are very comfortable with each other. They've been everywhere together. They've jumped on planes and pull all-nighters and all kinds of stuff together and doing impossible feats. That's that team building is akin to a squad in the military working together, and you can build that with your team at work. It's just a matter of mutual respect and working with each other and communication, getting to know each other, and that mutual respect is something that is really the linchpin here. It's really key. It's hard to fake that. If you don't respect somebody on your team, it's probably good to get them off your team or figure out what you have to do to fix that, because that's going to ruin your relationship with that person when they could be succeeding on another team, and it'll affect the rest of the team. It'll be clear that you don't respect them, or that there's not mutual respect there and there's a problem. All right, great. There's some ideas on how to build trust. Thanks, everybody.